So my first question is for Mr. Shinoy. You have shared valuable insights. Can you elaborate on how these new innovations can be practically optimized to enhance productivity and ensure structural integrity in welding and cutting process?
This particular technology increases productivity and definitely ensures integrity of the weld because, as I shared, even through Section 9 using RT or at impact of minus 196, which is a criteria for cryogenic vessels, this works very well. And this is a technology used in aerospace welding. It's a technology used for stainless steel tanks, vessels, and also for titanium. If you're doing carbon steel or if you're doing things like low alloy steel, then I would recommend moving from arc to flux core or from flux core to submerged arc welding, depending on your thickness, which will help you increase your productivity drastically. So, for example, in the PEB sector or the earth moving equipment sector, there we have already moved from the arc welding to flux core arc welding in most cases, which can be automated. And then semi-automatic submerged arc welding is a norm. We have also a hybrid process called thin wire SAW, that is thin wire submerged arc welding, which can be used with 1.2, 1.6 mm wires, which is used typically for thicknesses below 15 mm, because submerged arc is used above 15 mm. So that is another process we can use to increase the productivity and ensure structural integrity. Like TIG welding is the cleanest, submerged arc is considered the most, strength as well as high productive process. And we can easily move up the ladder there for a lot of capping and filling passes. And if you have lower thicknesses, for example, 10 mm, it's possible to weld submerged arc from the top, flip the job and weld it also from the inside. And that gives you very quick, high productivity as well as very low effect on chances for repairs or failures.
Thank you, sir. Now, Mr. Sawant, with your expertise in skill development trends, could you share your practical experience with the implementation of these tools in the training of welding professionals?
My experience related to training engineers and the welders. As on today, Indian welders found to be very good, very sincere, very honest. And I had seen that girls started also doing welding in Indian industry. In 2008, I started institute at South Africa. There 70 to 80% girls are doing welding. In India, this phenomena was not there. Girls will not come for the welding field because they feel it is very difficult and all. Welding is an art basically. And nowadays, I had seen even girls started doing welding. So many welding engineers, girls have started coming to the welding field. So it is new generation is getting attracted. Now only the industry also need to be supported to the and understand the needs of the welding engineers and welders to the industry. Second is looking at the potential for the welding field or the fabrication field, I will say, not only the welding as a total as a fabrication. There's a huge requirement. And you will see that as of today, the people from India going abroad and doing welding. No, most of the welders, they are having a dream to go to Middle East or US and or any foreign countries. But looking at Indian requirement, I will see that if we don't promote this welding field, then there is a foreign welders need to become and work in India. So we need to train our people, we need to get educated, and we should not miss this opportunity. That is my personal feeling related to the welding. The new generation need to be motivated, and I think one of the B2B is really doing that activity, and we need to spread these ideas even in the schools. What I am planning actually, no, in the school, when they are in the 8th standard or 9th standard, they should also know about the technology. I think Nimesh will be also agree with me from all the institutions like IW also were trying to go to the schools get educated during engineering, diploma colleges, engineering colleges, because like making machine is also as a requirement. Okay, so there is a new engineers, new electronics engineers will be needed to come forward to support to the industries, making new welding consumables, new fluxes, new gases need to get implemented. So there is a huge potential, what I feel.
Also, I have one more question for you, sir. How do these technological advancements impact the skilling and training needs of construction workforce?
See, everywhere, not only the construction workforce, means you're talking about for the new construction which is coming on like a flyovers and all, or the prefabricated structure you are talking about. Definitely the skilling of this is now, it is not, people is not focusing on that. Like whatever the metro projects are going on, if you look at to the quality of welding, people, all these bridges and all made, actually as per the code, their life is for 75 years minimum. Okay, so whatever the structural development is going on, people should understand it should work for minimum for 75 years, the design. But if the fabrication quality is not good, then they may collapse. If you remember, no, in 2017, one footover bridge has been collapsed. Second bridge has been collapsed in 2018. Then we blame to the quality of welding will not, no, that is not the solution. Actually, when any fabrication is going on, it should be done from the beginning. Selection of raw material, design of that. Because there, when we talk about the welding, is not only the physically what welding has been done. The design of welding is also need to be improved. Like when Nemesh is showing the technology, no, for that, our international standard, the design engineer should understand that, then only that will get implemented. See, welder cannot implement, the fabricator cannot implement unless and until that it should go in a design of that particular product. If I want to put a laser welding, if the drawing itself is not allowing me to go for laser welding, how I can perform the laser welding? So when I talk about the infrastructure requirement also, or it should start with the new engineer, newcomers, and the design engineer should also understand about the advantage of. Nimish has explained very well. The tensile test coupon or the impact values has been explained, productivity has been explained. Excellent. But I cannot use it because it is not given in my design. My drawing is not allowing me to do that. If my drawing says I have to still do with manual metal arc welding, then how I can get implemented? So we have to start with the design and development of this, and then it will, everywhere we need to know the scope of work is everywhere. It cannot be only bringing new technology, bringing new welding consumable, only training the people will not help. So everyone has to work together.
I think to add to this, Mahesh, I think what you are looking at, if you look at construction equipments or construction as an industry, it's a very vague term. When you talk to welding people about construction, their thought process will go about fabrication. When you talk about construction in general, a common man will think about buildings and railway bridges and things like that. When you talk about construction equipment industry, it comes to earth moving equipments, ready mix equipments, things like that. So it's a very vague term. The answer is very, very different for this, for each one of these scenarios. Okay, but as rightly said by Satish ji, any new technology, unless understood how to implement, it will not help. So if the awareness of the technology is there with the construction, design, fabrication, engineers or operators, then safety, productivity, and quality will improve.
So I have one question for you.
Sure.
How do industry standards and guidelines ensure safety and quality with cutting-edge tools and equipments in construction? I mean, in fabrication.
So I'm also a part of the Bureau of Indian Standards, where we are looking at the incoming quality of raw materials being produced within India, being imported in India, or being exported from India to become global standards. Now, anything that comes in, whether it's an equipment or a consumable, must have meet the right standards. And BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, is very active. Actually, I really urge everybody to go on the Bureau of Indian Standards website. On the website, they have made all BIS standards freely available to everybody. Unless it's an adapted standard, that means it's a European standard being adapted to Indian standards, it's a paid version. Otherwise, all BIS original standards are free. And they are there for this reason that you please adhere to, and unless you are a quality conscious producer, consumer, you will not get higher up the hierarchy. Your quality is must. So quality can only be guided by standards. And once the standards are in place and they are easily accessible and available to all, and people start following, it will lead to the right kind of safety for the fabricator, user, and others. I don't know if you've heard, but you see derailments of train that happens, loss of lives that are there. I believe you guys are based out of Bombay, right? About 7-8 years ago, there was an article that in Dombivli, there was a pressure vessel which was scrapped. And the scrap person's job is to cut the metal and reprocess it. Without understanding how to dispose a pressure vessel, they use the flame to cut open the dish end. You know how high that dish end flew in the sky? More than 800 meters up. It was a 250 kg thick piece of metal. When it landed back, it broke the ceiling of 4 houses down to the ground. We were lucky that there was no casualty at that time, but it would have been easily been a fatal accident. This is due to lack of following procedure as per standard. So standards lead to safety not only during welding or during use, but even how to dispose has standards associated with it. And standards are available. If everybody follows it, safety is a primary norm for the user. So the fabricator, the constructor, or anybody using it is the first person to benefit from the safety. Second is the person using the equipment. That means whatever you made, a pressure vessel, who's going to run it? There's a risk involved there. They will be safe because you welded with the right process and as per standard. So this is where standards play a role, which is very, very critical, and it's important that everybody adheres to it.
That was insightful, Mr. Shinoy. Mr. Sawant, can you discuss effective approaches for building skill development gaps in welding and cutting, both domestically and internationally?
See, as a skill development gap, if I want to say, whatever the syllabus which has been given in the college and the ITS and the institution, and whatever the industry needed, so definitely there is a gap because the industry use a very high-tech technology to go ahead with the requirement or the industrial requirement. But our schools and ITS and college, they are talking about the technology which is maybe 30 years old. So the student which comes out from the school and colleges, they are not aware about the industrial requirement. And when they go to the industry, when the basic things has been asked to them, they are not able to answer. So as an institution, like we started with Institute of Welding and Testing Technology, training people on the robotics. So we need to buy a robot first. So Institute is also having a robot, and now we started talking about the robotics welding, some SPMs or the new metals. Like I keep on getting requirement for the titanium welding. Now getting welders for the titanium is very, very difficult because the material itself is very expensive. So industry also need to support to the institution. The companies, bigger companies like Reliance, Tata, L&T, Siemens, Bombardier, Alstom, these kind of big companies, and even electrode and the machine manufacturing companies, they should support to the institution on a special ground, bring the technology to the smaller institution or bigger institution, give the awareness with the latest technology to the institution, then whatever the young generation which will be coming out from the institution will be useful for the industry. So definitely there is a gap. Second is our media which has been used for the education, or most of the media used for the education, we speak in English and all. So like Nimesh has said, no, the standard implementation is very, very important. Standardization is very, very important. Without that, we may not get the quality and consistency of the product. Safety is also a requirement. Safety, health, and environment things also should be known to the person related. So that awareness need to be generated by the institution. It starts with the institute only, what I feel. The first and most responsible for the quality of welding and to avoid this kind of accident, the institutions is more responsible. Along with that, I would like to add, there is a code. No, when we talk about the pressure vessel code, cross-country pipeline codes, like we're having a lawyers, when we talk about in the general day-to-day, we only talk about the lawyers who talk about the our day-to-day cases which will be there. But then there is a different codes for welding also. There is a law for welding. Most of the time, people is not aware about it. And ignorance of the law is not the excuse. We should aware about the laws. Most of the time, accident take place because people is not aware about the law. If I'm constructing bridges or metro or pressure vessels, so there is a law for making it. Manufacturing law norms are there. Tomorrow I know about the automotive industry, I cannot start making automotive component. So there is a law implemented into that. So awareness of law, no, that can be created to the industry. Then we can avoid the accident, premature failures in fabrications can be taken care. So definitely, as your question says, there is a gap because this laws has been never taught in the colleges. When I had done my engineering or my colleagues has done my engineering, we never taught what is as a like no, there is a professional chartered accountant knows after his chartered accountant what he's supposed to do. The doctor knows what he's supposed to do. Most of the in engineering, when we become an engineer, we're not aware what is what I supposed to do. When we go to the industry, that what I mean to do that, and I make my specialization into that. So because we're not aware about the course which is applicable to us, so that awareness need to be generated. And definitely the institution is responsible, and this knowledge should be given in the vernacular languages. Similar kind of seminars and all we can arrange even in the national language. So even small welders and the fitters and everyone can join for B2B this kind of seminars. So our communication should be in Hindi. So all people will able to understand and get implemented easily. We should have a pride about our national language, and we need to spread this to the bottom level. So we started writing books in Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati. Whenever I'm getting some translator, we're making in even a Telugu. So like that, we need to go to the root level and spread to all over India and create the awareness about the code, standard, specification, and the technology. That is that is a gap has been identified by me, and my colleagues and all team members were working on the mission to try to fill up the gap.
Thank you, sir.